very fast. But you know, I'm very prudent normally to say that everything is just finished, because it's not. We have still a lot of races to go. Things can change quickly. We have seen also in terms of reliability how the things could be different from one moment to the other. So I mean, just in the interest of F1 is just great, and thanks for what you're doing to promote the sport all together. That is really magic, and we need to make sure that everything we're doing is going in the right direction.
I saw you waving the checkered flag at the MotoGP race last week, and the sprint races was a big topic in the week coming up. So apparently you say you don't want any practice altogether. What's going on?
I mean, as always, when you talk about an ant, it's becoming an elephant 1 minute after. Well, actually, I was just focused on the fact that I was enjoying the sprint. And of course, for the riders, was the first time they had to perform in that way. So they were so active. I mean, say, hey, it's just a sprint.
4 of them in hospital.
But not because of the format, because of something different. But actually, you know, I didn't say anything new. If you remember last year, I said, listen, of course there needs to be the time to practice. Formula 1 has no free practice out of the session of the normal weekend Grand Prix. But you know, people are coming to see performance, and the more is you give the chance to teams and drivers to see who they are, the better it is for the show. And I would say, on the other hand, you know, I think that we don't have to forget about the rookies, so we need to give the time for them to practice. As always, there has to be a balance. We are thinking to have session where there is something to perform for the better of the sport, and that's it. All together with the drivers and team, we are just thinking and working out what is the best plan to try to see the reaction and go for it. No fear on that.
But as you say, Stefano, in a time like now where Formula One really is booming, or has already boomed, as you say, 100,000 people here on a Friday, incredible numbers, incredible viewing figures. Commercially, the sport is in such a great place. So how do you maintain that, or how do you, continue to grow in that direction? I'm sure that practice sessions and changing those kinds of elements is what's going to make it more exciting ultimately.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, we have to consider that we are just of a restart of an incredible period where Formula One is really very, very strong. And I think that to keep the attention on having no fears to be aggressive on thinking new formats is not because we don't respect the tradition or we respect the old way of thinking of a weekend, but it would be wrong not to think about it. And as I said, we don't have to be shy, and we can really have the time to consider there are, like me, old fans that that have a certain ideas of what is the formula of a weekend, but we are also new generation that are coming in. They are more aggressive in asking something different. So, as always, a matter of balance, and we want to work out in the best way for the interest of the sport.
We see it actually in a lot of sports. I mean, I don't know how big a cricket fan you are, but we have 2020 shortened forms of the game effectively. So therefore, if you're getting into a sprint, I mean, I know we could get into the minutiae of in a cost cap era sprint races. Exactly, there's risk there, isn't there? But would you say that sprint a separate championship would be something that might work for you?
I don't know. I think that the championship has to be a championship. You cannot split the championship. You can have a Grand Slam. You can have a sort of who is the best in terms of qualifying, in terms of sprint, but the champion has to be one. That's my opinion. But what you're saying about the fact that the sport is evolving is because it's the nature of the attention that the fans wants to keep. If we don't realize that, it's a mistake, and that's really why we need to be on the footstep of trying to understand what really the fans want. We need to remember that we're here because the fans really loves us, and we don't respect their needs, it would be a mistake. That's it.
Sure. There's been a lot of talk in the week about potential new teams. We saw Craig Pollock, who was involved with British American Racing, talking about a new team, Formula Equal. I mean, what have you heard? Have they come to you? Have they applied? Are there any conversations? Because as much as you say we have to think about what the fans want and fans need, I'm sure the fans want to see more cars on track.
I haven't heard that, but that's not my problem on that respect. I think that, seriously on that respect, I know that Craig contacted F1 many years ago with certain ideas, but there are, as I said, when we're talking about Andretti, people that would like to be very vocal, some other are less vocal, but the fact that the F1 is attracting new potential teams and investors shows how is the status of F1 today. And there is a process in place that started last week that is open. Everyone can apply. That there is the first step where the FA will make the analysis. The second one will be done by the commercial. There will be a joint discussion, and we're going to see which will be the outcome of it.
So you're not opposed completely about having more than 10 teams then? Is that what
It's
you're
not
saying?
a problem in opposition. The problem it's not a problem. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
If it's bringing value to the championship in a medium, long term, and that's really the point that I always raised when we were talking about this subject.
Now, Stefano, I want to ask you, because obviously I have a little bit of an interest in the women in the sport, and you mentioned the equality team. But, Formula One Academy is something that's new, that's coming very soon. The women have been testing this week in Monza. It's coming hot and fast. I want to understand from your side what is important about that championship, and what is it that you want to see come out of it ultimately?
Well, I think that first of all, I would start from a news that I would like to share for the first time here, that we just started. Actually, we haven't yet started the season on the track, but I can confirm you that the next year, the F1 Academy will be on the racing weekend of Formula One. Of course, not everywhere, but that will be part of the plan to promote the F1 Academy. So that I can really share. You are the first to hear. And that's really something that we are really keen to make sure that this will be hopefully the right booster for the season to grow. Of course, we just started. As I said, I remember last year when I was criticized by saying something that was not disrespectful, but it was just saying, that's a fact. So F1 took the leadership on that to try to do something, investing, believing that by creating attention to that project, we can really have, hopefully, as soon as we can, a girl, a woman in F1. That's our hope, and that's why I really invest in really a lot. Susie Wolf will lead this plan, this program, and in the next couple of weeks we're going to announce the details of what is more than the track, because we need to start to create awareness, to create at the right age. Then you can have talented girls that will be highlighted, but we need to work on quantity to make sure that there is really this feeling that we have girls that will start very, very soon to be attracted by our sport.
Okay. So is it 7 races this year, and then it may be more next year? It's just a general expansion as it goes, or you just build and see?
It could be bigger for sure. Okay. But as I said, you're going to listen very soon to the plan that will be presented by Susie.
Okay, so we're at 23 races right now, Stefano. How are we looking going forward? Are people knocking at your door every day saying we want a Grand Prix? Capped at 25 at the moment. What's the plan? Is it going to be multiple in Saudi? Are we going to have another one in the States? What's the priority?
Well, actually, the knocking on the door is happening, but it's up to us to maintain the right equilibrium. Today, the demand is huge, but we need to protect the quality of the events and the sport. So I would say this year we have 23. I think that next year will be 24, and that's the right number, I believe, in this context. And because the quality is big, we are, as you've seen, improving the quality of each of the promoter, and we are also thinking in the future maybe some rotational stuff can happen. But I think that is on the promoter side, we don't have to forget, we need to be really thankful for what they're doing. They are putting impressive events together, and the fact that now the challenge is higher is just benefiting the Formula One fans and the ecosystem that is really living, thanks God, an incredible moment today.
When you talk about rotating, maybe you're talking about some races alternating is in the future. How do you find this balance? Because there's the traditional Silverstones, Monza, Monaco, places like that, and then we got this wave of new tracks. How are you going to keep finding that balance of making sure we go to the historic venues, which are so important to the DNA of the sport, and also bring the new venues on?
I tell you, Sharon, when historical is connected to look only behind, there is a problem. When historical is a value, if you are focusing to develop the sport in the future, is a great value. And that's really what is our duty, to make sure that, for example, talking about, I'm Italian, Monza is an incredible place, but they need to make sure that for the future they're investing, in infrastructure, in services for the fans. And that's why when I'm talking about this point, it's a great asset. But as always, you have the responsibility to invest for the future. And that's really what we want to see from the place where they were in for one since the the start of racing.
Well, we're getting more and more exciting locations on the calendar every year. This year we've got Vegas. The last time we spoke in a very similar setting to this, you was talking about the South African Grand Prix you'd just been to visit. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened for this year. But is Africa still a location that you would like to focus on getting a Grand Prix to, or are there any other exciting locations that you
100%.
can maybe tell us you're looking into?
No, 100%. Africa is still a continent which we are working very hard. But as always I said, we need to find the right partners, the right medium-term plan, because what I want to avoid is to go there 1 year and then forget it. So we are working, try to find a solution for the best of the sport, for the best of the country, and this is really still a focus. Second question is other places, yes. There is a lot of interest in the Far East Asia. There is a lot of interest, you may laugh, to have more races even in US, but of course in this moment I think that 3, as we have this year, will be the right number for a couple of years for sure. And but really, as I said, it's just up to us to find the right balance and the right places. The most important thing is that you know, every Grand Prix has to be different in terms of personality, in terms of event. We want to have the city living as we are here, the event not only on the track but in the city. That's the magic of Formula 1.
London Grand Prix, anything in that?
Why not? Why not? It will be great. I think that London has other priority maybe today to tackle, but of course there will be a great project. We're going to be ready to discuss it because, you know, London, by the way, is the place we have the offices, so it will be not bad.
Too far for yeah,
Easy
okay.
commute to work that
Easy
day.
commuting, yeah.
No, but I mean, are you saying there is a conversation, or is it just
I would say
nothing?
not so far.
No.
Not so far. All right, there we go. Well, we'll leave
But
it
never
short
say
there.
never.
I was going to say Antarctica, where else is there to go? But Stefano, brilliant stuff. It's always great talking
you.
to you. It's in a very good place. We know that, and we love being here in Albert Park. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
to you
There
all.
we go. Stefano
Thank you.
Domenicali. Brilliant. Well, let's just get into that